Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Pickles and Vodka, the unfiltered mental health podcast dedicated to the things nobody wants to talk about in real life. I'm your host, Christina, and disclaimer, I don't normally sound like this. I am coming down with a little something, just fall things. No, for real, it is that time of year, and I've held off getting sick as long as I possibly could. As you might know, I've been working my ass off for the last 6 weeks with 2 jobs, and last week I finally dropped down to 1 job, so of course, that's when my body decides to break down. So yeah, I think I'm getting sick. I woke up this morning with all that buildup in my throat, and I tried talking, as you do when you wake up, you talk to yourself. But no, I knew I had to record this, and so I was talking to myself, and I was like, oh no, this is not gonna work. I can't do this. But it's Monday, and you get me sounding like this. You're welcome. It's sexy. This is going to be a short intro. I don't really have a ton to say about my week. I've been working a lot. I've been isolating a lot. Mentally, I guess I should talk about my mental health, which I know that I have a mental health podcast, and I talk a lot about being honest about this stuff, but I feel like I haven't been completely honest with you guys about my own mental health in the last few weeks, because I'm not really proud of it. I haven't been doing the best. I haven't been doing the worst either. I know if you guys listen back to old episodes, I was a shit show at the beginning of this year. I was an active alcoholic. I was self-harming, I was really depressed, suicidal, all the stuff. And then I went to the hospital and I got sober and I got a new job, and things have been looking up for me for a while. So I really do feel like I have no right to still feel this shitty, but I do. And I think it is a phase as much as these things can be called a phase. I recognize in my head that objectively things are on the upswing, and if I can just write it out a little and keep pushing myself out of my comfort zone and keep taking these proactive steps toward my own self-care, things will get better. But it's hard when you're used to feeling like shit and when you're used to things going poorly. I talked about this in the last episode, how self-sabotage feels safe to me because that's what I'm used to. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I also have a big confession to make, and that is I have stopped seeing my therapist. It didn't really happen on purpose. The last time I saw him, I told him I would see him in 2 weeks like normal, and then I just kind of ghosted him. And I didn't do it on purpose. I did it because I lost my insurance because I quit my one job, and I haven't really gotten new insurance yet. And that's even more embarrassing to admit because I'm 27 years old and I'm supposed to be a responsible adult. But yeah, I haven't taken care of my new insurance yet. And so as a result, I've put off the whole therapy thing. But I doubt he's listening to this or anything. I still feel weird saying it on the podcast. But yeah, I don't want to ghost him because he's been there for me for this whole crazy year in Seattle, and he was the one who talked me off the ledge and helped me get into the hospital, and I owe him my life, literally. So I think I'm gonna at least write him a card or something, and I've been putting it off for a while, so this is my accountability right here. I'm telling you guys this week, I'm going to write him a card and mail it because he deserves that, at least. I hate it when people ghost their therapists. I mean, I've done it before. It's a shitty thing to do, and I know they're used to it. It's their job, but still, I don't want to be that person, With all that said, I have a lot of work on myself to do this week. I just want to challenge you guys to be thinking about November, and it's tempting this time of year to think, oh, the year's sucked this far, what's the point of turning it around now? Might as well ride out this wave of misery till the end. I mean, that's how I think, at least, but I want to challenge myself and you guys that it's not too late to have a good couple months before this year is over. Start 2020 off on a good note, because I love new beginnings. I love the symbolism of new months, new years, new weeks even. Today's Monday. Monday's my favorite day of the week. Unpopular opinion. I just love the idea of a fresh start. So yeah, be thinking about what you want to do in November. That's about it. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this week's episode. I interview one of my old customers from my job in Virginia. Her name's Nadiya, and she's a yoga teacher and just really funny person. I'm not going to spoil it anymore. I'm really terrible at amping these people up. I'll just let her speak for herself, but it's a great episode. As usual, if you guys want to be a guest or just want to say hi, feel free to email me at picklesandvodkapodcast@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Technically, I'm on Twitter, but to be honest, I don't go on there a lot. Anyway, you know where to find me. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Hello?
Hey, am I doing it right?
Oh, yeah, hi!
Hey,
Oh, if you're doing video, I can do video too. I just don't. Oh, how do I do this?
I don't know. This is my first time ever using.
Oh, hi!
Long time no
Oh my
see.
God, I know. This is so weird. I think you're the first person I've ever interviewed on Skype with the video on.
Really?
Yeah, most of the time it's just voices because, like, I'm the most awkward person on earth.
Oh, and I'm super awkward too.
Yay! So, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Your first awkward video comment.
I love it. You look all buff and shit.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying to get there. I'm about to work out when we finish. I just ate my food, so
What kind of workouts do you do?
I could get it all going. Just run, and I'm gonna lift some weights tonight.
Ugh. I have not done that in way too long. I'm, like, so weak.
Lifting is probably one of my favorite things to do, but it'll all come back once you do it.
The listeners can just trust me when I say your arms look amazing. So, do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself? Just introduce yourself, say what your name is, how old you are, what you do, all that shit.
Yeah. So my name is Nadiya, and I live in the DC metropolitan area. I am a yoga teacher by choice and a government worker by paycheck. So
Nice.
That's what I do. My favorite thing to do is to interact with strangers because I'm too awkward to interact with my friends. I also like to interact with animals and plants and other things. So that's me in a nutshell. Oh, and did I say my age? I'm 33.
Okay, no, you didn't. Man, that's interesting that you said that it's less awkward for you to interact with strangers than your friends, because most people it's the other way around. Why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I feel like I have too many different personalities, and so different friends are expecting different things, and everybody needs me and wants me to be there for them that are my friends, whereas strangers have like zero expectations of me.
So you feel like you're your most, like, genuine self around strangers?
Yeah, I never even really thought about that, but thanks. That's what happened.
I totally get that. I think it's interesting how, like, different people kind of build into your personality. Like, you act one way around a different friend than you do around, like, your sister, for instance. Like, I find myself laughing differently around certain friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
totally.
how much of me is the real me and how much of me is, like, fake, just built on these other people.
Totally is. And it's crazy. It's just like, why is it this way? And I think we also like pick up on other people's like traits and personalities that we like change who we are so that we can make that person feel a little more comfortable and less awkward. I don't know.
Do you find yourself working really hard to make the other person more comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far too often, actually.
No, I get it. I do that too. I was going to ask, how long have you been teaching yoga?
I have been teaching yoga now for 3.5 years. I've been taking yoga for like 10 years, but I've been teaching for 3.5.
Okay. Well, what got you into that?
A breakup in 2012 got me into taking yoga, and then knowing things weren't right in my other part of my life brought me to teaching yoga.
Can't wait to hear all about that.
Yeah.
Just tell me your whole life story. Are you from the DC area originally?
Yep. born and raised from Alexandria, so right outside of DC.
So what was your childhood like growing up? Did you move around a lot? Did you stay in the same area? What was your family like?
Never moved once in my life. Well, I mean, that's not true. My parents never moved in my lifetime. They've always lived in Alexandria, and they've had the same house since I was born. And I lived there from when I was born to when I was 18. Then when I was 18, I moved out, went to college, got kicked out of college right away. So I moved home, but then they let me back into college. So I got to finish, and I got to move back out. And then I stayed out of my parents' house till I was like 26. And then that breakup in 2012 brought me back home. And then I moved out again when I was like about to be 30 because I didn't want to be 30 living at home. For some reason, that was like crazy. I can't live at home at 30. Like
That was your limit.
Yeah, and then I moved out, and then at 33, I got single again, or 32, I got single again, and I'm living at home.
It happens.
And it's great.
It happens, you know.
Yeah.
These things are cycles, and especially for our generation, like it's really fucking hard.
It really is, and like I'm thankful to have parents that are so cool that are letting me live there, and they actually let my best friend live there.
Nice.
She lives there too. It's kind of weird. We're like a little modern family, and she sees my parents more than I do.
Oh,
She
that's
brought a dog
adorable.
to the house. Yeah.
What's your relationship like with your parents?
Ooh, that's tough. It's actually I'm going through a lot right now with them, so it's kind of crazy that you asked that. My mom and dad have been married for 40 years. My mom was like the most nurturing person in the entire world. Like she quit her job and her life just to take care of myself and my sister. Because my dad was like, that's what a good wife does is stays home and I'll make money. I don't know. Like they seem like they're traditional, but they're not. So it's kind of weird that they did that. So my mom stayed home so my dad could work more. My mom was just always there, but she was always late for everything. And now I'm late for everything in life. So I feel like maybe it's really wiped off on me and I can't control it. And it's really bad. She's also like a hoarder and a mess. And I feel like I am as well now. But she has a heart of gold or whatever it's called, a heart of whatever, the best heart ever.
Heart of gold. Sounds right.
Heart of gold. All she does is care about people. She's the one who probably got me to like talk to strangers so much because I remember as a kid, like her always interacting with like homeless people and like people from her church and just random people. So she's a great person. My dad, he's a comedian. Like he's the funniest person I've ever met in my life, but he's not a comedian. He's a mechanic.
I was gonna say, is he like really a comedian? Like, does he do that for a living? That's crazy.
No, he's a mechanic, but he's really hilarious and awesome. And he's like 69, but he acts like he's like 49, 29. He's very young at heart. My mom is 70 and she acts like she's like 90. So they're complete opposites. But yeah, growing up with them was great. They're great parents. They're wonderful, very loving. But now I'm going through a difficult time with them because I'm trying to quit my government job and just teach yoga. And my mom thinks that's the most foolish thing in the world because she thinks that only money matters and nothing else should matter.
Do you think that stems from like fear that you're gonna crash and fall? Like she just wants you to be okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Which I totally understand. But at the same time, you're 33, you know, you need to crash and fall sometimes, which it sounds like you have already.
A lot, yeah. And I'm about to be 34 in a week, so didn't put that part out there. So
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. So I will continue to crash and fall, but it's life.
That's so true. I'm sure you've explored those themes in yoga, the whole balance thing. We'll go back to your story in a bit because I'm really super curious about your life. But you said you were really interested in talking about mental health, and I'm curious about the yoga side of things, like how yoga and mental health combine.
They do combine, but I would say more in like a mindfulness way.
You said that you first got into yoga when you went through that first breakup in 2012.
So going to that helped me learn the techniques of like breathing and like community, being with others, and like understanding myself a little bit more, and the fact that like we all like grow and change. But like as I've been doing yoga more and more, things have really changed for me, and I've been understanding a lot more of life and mental illness and mindfulness, because I've always suffered from like depression of some sort, like whether it's seasonal depression or love depression, just because I'm someone who is so much in need of wanting to be loved and in love that I get a little bit depressed when that doesn't happen. And then I also have a lot of anxieties. So yoga has really helped with all of those areas for me. Recently, in the past couple years, it's been because of meditation and breath work and mindfulness, and knowing that everything is temporary. And when situations go really badly in my life, I have to remind myself that that situation is just something that's temporary, and that it will pass, and what will happen will be greater than the moments that I'm experiencing currently.
That's amazing. I totally try to do that as well. Like asking myself, will this matter in a week? You know, will this matter in a month, a year, whatever. But it's hard. It's a really hard discipline. And I think yoga is just that, a discipline.
It really is. Yeah.
Man, this is so exciting because like I don't really know you and I want to like learn all about you. So, when did you start dating?
After my breakup, you mean?
Well, no, just in general. How old were you when you started dating?
Most people start dating, like, I guess in high school, right? I went on like one, maybe two dates in high school, and I went on like one in middle school that my parents had no idea about. But nothing like ever serious. I never had a boyfriend until college. My first boyfriend, I guess first time dating, this is ridiculous, but I met him in 2006. He's the one that I broke up with in 2012 that I found yoga. We started dating in 2006, and on the first night, like I invited a bunch of friends over and him over because I didn't think that, I thought it'd be weird. I met him off of MySpace. So I was just like, let me like bring some people here that can like make things normal. So all my friends were there and he was there. And then our second date was like next night, and we watched the Super Bowl, and he was just like, will you be my girlfriend? And I was like, sure. And he's like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. You want to move in? And that was like, and he moved into my apartment that my parents were paying.
Holy shit.
Some guy I knew for 2 days, and we lasted for 6.5 years.
And that's fucking insane.
Super weird.
Did
right?
your friends like try to talk you out of it?
No. Mm-mm.
Everyone was like, all right, you do you. We trust you.
Yeah. So that was my first experience dating. So then I guess I really started dating when he and I broke up. So 2012, 2013, before I met my next ex. And I probably went on dates with like 20, 30 different guys, different places, met different people. So I was 27, 26.
What was that experience like after having been with one person for 6 years? And that was really your first relationship, right? Like,
yeah, it was fun because I kind of felt like I was cool. I was like, this is cool. Lots of guys want to go out with me. I thought I was like super like ugly and disgusting in like high school and college because nobody wanted to date me in high school. And then in college, I met this random guy off of MySpace right away. And I didn't even flirt with any of the normal people in college. This guy didn't go to college. The guy I met that I lived with, he was just some random, like, homeless guy that I...
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm like sensing some red flags going up.
Lots of red flags. And now he's, like, doing really well in his life. And we're still, like, really good friends.
That's good. So what did your parents think when you started dating him?
They were mad that I was dating somebody who didn't have an education, who didn't work because he wasn't working right away. They were just mad. They were like, you're dating somebody who's using you. But at the end of the day, he loved me more than anybody ever had. Like, he would do anything to make me happy. Like, he ended up working in a deli as his first job while we were dating, and he would put in as many extra hours as he could so he could bring me a bouquet of flowers like every other day or something like that. Like it was crazy. And he would bring me chocolates. He was just like such a sweet, good guy. And he
Mm-hmm.
to make me happy. And he kept the house completely clean. He cooked for me. He made sure everything was ready. He would like,
Damn.
yeah, he was a really good guy. And then we
What
ended up
was
getting
the
dogs.
what was the catch?
He didn't have any money. We ended up breaking up because he had some PTSD from like a house fire that he got trapped in with our dogs in 2011.
Oh
And
shit.
I tried to work it out with him for a year after that, but it didn't work out. But he ended up making his life the way he wanted to. He fixes motorcycles and Vespas for a living, and then he became a marijuana farmer.
Living the dream then.
Yeah, he is. Him and his fiance live on St. Thomas.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Then, so 2012 to 2013 was really cool dating. I really enjoyed it. Met a lot of cool guys. This one guy, like, I just became obsessed with in like March of 2013, and he was like clearly wanting to be a player, wanting to date a lot of different people. But I was like, nope, I'm gonna make this guy my boyfriend. And sure enough, by 2014, he was my boyfriend up until last year. So I kept him around.
Is this the guy that you were always talking about when you came into my work?
Always.
Just so you guys know, me and Nadiya met at my work in Virginia. I worked at a cafe and she was a customer, and she would come in and tell me about her boy problems.
Yep, it was him. We broke up. I left him at the end of last year. I think you might have already been gone.
I think you were starting to talk about leaving him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I left him at the end of last year. He's having a baby.
Oh my God. Odd flex.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like both of my exes moved on. One's getting married and one's having a kid. Both of them said they were never going to get married or have kids, and that's all I wanted. And both of them are.
Isn't that how it always works?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. How long did you take between dating other people and breaking up with your first ex?
The first ex, broke up with, I guess I break up with guys in September. So I broke up with him in September of 2012, and I was dating by December.
Okay.
So like 3 months. But I was over him, and I was completely detached, not in love, the day I left.
It was kind of one of those things that had been working up for a long time.
Yeah. The other one that I left last September, I'm almost fully over that. So it's been over a year. That one was it's just difficult. So dating has been really crappy.
Are you afraid of being by yourself, like alone?
Well, I'm like huge on astrology and birth charts, being a yoga teacher, and my birth chart reading was that this is a little TMI, but I don't know how TMI your podcast is.
No such thing.
Okay, so apparently I'm a sex addict. So that's what she got. The first thing she got on my birth chart, she was just like, all I see is sex, like everywhere. Is that your life? And I was like, yes.
Okay, I was going to ask if you agreed with that statement.
I was like, yeah, that's definitely my life.
But it's probably nothing. It's probably something that you had never really been able to talk about before, or that anyone asked you about.
Yeah. And so that was pretty cool to find that out. But then she also was like, you're a Libra. And she's like, and Libras are obsessed with love. And she's like, from the moment you were born, all you wanted was to be loved romantically. And she was like, and until now, until maybe a couple years from now, she's like, you're never going to truly be loved. Like, she's like, and it's just something that sucks, but you have to give love elsewhere and figure out your next path. She's like, I'm not saying you're not going to have that romantic love and that love that's going to last forever, but it's not in like the planetary cycle at this moment. And she's like, in the moment that she was able to read ends in like summer 2020. But then she was like, I don't see that like in your planetary like outline, but your Venus, like my Venus planet is also in love. And she was like, so everything about you is like love, 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 sex, love, sex, love. She's like, everything, like, and I'm like, oh, great. And she's like, so you don't focus on like other things like responsibilities and work and being on time. She's like, because all your mind is thinking about 24/7 is love and sex. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, yeah, you told me that, right at the beginning of this recording, that you need to be loved and you're always looking for love. Have you always been like that ever since you were a kid?
Yeah, and the thing that's so strange about that is my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my family, everybody gave me so much love. Like I experienced so much love. Like, and I should be thankful. Like I experienced more love in my childhood than most people might in their entire lifetime.
This is a really cheesy question. Do you love yourself?
That's what I'm working on. I think that I think that I hadn't loved myself. And so that's one of the things she was saying when she did my birth chart reading and when I get Reiki and when I see like other spiritual healers, they're like, you have to love yourself. And like, I see other people loving me, like friends and family. But for me, I'm just like, I don't know. But then when I think about it at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I am actually pretty awesome. So why can I not love myself the way I should? So I guess it's just always a work in progress.
Yeah, it's kind of like a shitty cycle because, like, for a relationship to be healthy, the two individuals have to love themselves and have healthy relationships with themselves. But then you feel like you're constantly missing out on love. It's like hard to love yourself, and it's just a cycle.
No, that's exactly the cycle I'm experiencing. And like in this year, I've been single. I started dating a lot sooner with him than the last ex. So I waited only like 2 months and I was dating again. And I've always had like guys that I like hook up with, but I don't count those guys as guys I'm dating. But I've just like, it's like the two that I've actually really liked. One of them, he's become like my best guy friend, unfortunately.
Oh no.
And then the other one, he just asks me to be his dog sitter and his yoga teacher.
Oh.
And we hang out all the time and he like always wants to be around me, but yet he doesn't want to date me. So it's just like really weird. I've just like found myself into like two weird situations with two weirdos.
Maybe time to draw some boundaries there.
Boundaries. Everybody says boundaries. I don't have boundaries when it comes to men. I don't know what my problem is.
So I know you said that you tend to change your personality based on who you're with. Have you found that to be true with guys you date?
Yeah, and like I think I feel bad because I'm always going. Like right before we started this podcast, I had just left my office. I had worked for 8 hours. Then I came here to teach a yoga class. Then I went back to my office for 2 hours to finish work. Then I came back here to set up this so we could talk. And I had something else to do with my yoga business. And when I finish, I'm going to work out. So I like go 24/7 all the time. I barely ever sleep. But when it comes to these guys that I like, if they were to call me, I would just drop certain things. Not like my job or yoga teaching, but working out and other responsibilities.
Yeah.
And my friends and family are like, but you're always too busy for us. But how are you making time to see this guy twice in a week or 3 times in a week when you can't even see me like once in a week? And I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, maybe that's why you do it, because it's the only time you'll allow yourself to like drop stuff and slow down. Have you ever thought about that?
No.
I'll give you an example from my life. Like I'm like a recovering alcoholic. And I don't drink anymore, but I'm just like you. I can never stay still. I have to be doing something constantly. I hate just sitting with my own mind. And so alcohol would be the one way that I would let myself just relax and be lazy and do nothing. So I don't know. Maybe it's similar with these guys for you.
Yeah.
It lets you kind of let go of your responsibilities and just enjoy the company of another human.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. And like, he makes me feel like calm and like relaxed and I can just like chill. I actually do feel really good around this one guy. Like he makes me feel like welcomed. I don't know. And I actually am more myself around him than I am around other people I know.
That was going to be my next question is like, how does your perception of yourself change when you're with these guys? Like, do you feel like you are truly yourself if it's the right guy, or do you feel like it's just another like mask that you put on?
I think it's another mask too. I think almost everybody gets to see the mask. The only time I really feel 100% myself and without masks is when I'm either teaching yoga or taking a yoga class. Like that's when I feel like I can be my true self. Also when I'm meditating. And other than that, and like I have a couple close friends that I feel really myself around. But other than that, I feel like I have to be a different way for different people.
Yeah.
And maybe that is once I can become all of them together at one, maybe then I'll fully love myself because it won't be different Nadias all over the place running around like a crazy person.
I don't know. I also think that that's part of being a human and adapting to your surroundings is like, flexing to whatever situation you're in, whatever people you're with. I think it's a lot of pressure to say I have to be the same person all the time in all these situations. I don't know. I go back and forth between my views on this, and it's so exhausting.
How so?
Like, I don't know. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be our like authentic person. But like who the fuck knows what that is? You
Yeah,
know?
true. That's true.
And we're always evolving. Like we're always changing. And the way we evolve is by interacting with people and different personalities. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what to think. I'm just life, man.
Life. It's a crazy, crazy motherfucker, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, tell me about your mental health like growing up and then like when you left the house, what kind of changes you went through?
So, mental health. Oh, I didn't even talk about this. I talked about depression and anxiety, and I didn't talk about the major one, ADHD.
All
Um,
right.
I I am ADHD. I actually was one of the first cases of ADHD in the United States. There's a book by an author. His name is Dr. Stixrud. It's Stixrud. And he talks about this little girl who they couldn't figure out anything going on with her until she was like 9, which was me. And I just had like a really severe case of ADHD. And then they tried to get me on medications my whole life. I didn't get on medication until I was in college, when I was 18 and legally allowed to make the decision because my mom thought that medication on a child's brain would hinder that child's brain. So she didn't allow it. And then anytime that the schools or anywhere would say I have a disorder or a disability or a mental illness, my mom would just say, no, my daughter learns differently. So I really appreciated that from her growing up because I never felt different until I got older and I started looking back at life and I was like, well, I was always different. I was in like slower reading classes. I was not able to comprehend things. Like I would read something, but I had no idea what I just read because I was moving so fast. My brain was moving faster than my eyes or than my body. Like I was just always going. And my brain still is that way. And I still, to this day, take Adderall because I can't focus without it. That's why I like teaching yoga because I don't need it. But working in the office, I can't get anything done without it.
When did you go on it when you were in college?
Yeah, I think I was 18 or 19. I started with like Concerta or something like that. It's terrible. All these drugs are terrible. I hate them. But it's helped me. When I meditate and when I do yoga, I don't need Adderall. But on the mornings I have to go to the office, I'm like, I don't want to be a human. Like I can't human today.
I feel like it is all about balance, like you said earlier. Like that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Like, medication isn't a cure all, and neither is yoga by any means, but like together you can use them to help yourself.
Yeah.
But like too much of any of them, I feel like can be detrimental. Do you smoke because of your anxiety? You mentioned it before.
I don't know. I think I've just really enjoyed it. I started smoking when I was like 16 or 17, and it became like a daily thing. And I don't know. Basically, all the guys I've dated, except for the first one, said that I made them smoke more. They were like, "You smoke more than I would have expected." And I was like, "I don't know," but like I always do it at night, so people don't know. It's usually like late night to go to bed for me, like to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right? That,
well, yeah, you have to be able to slow yourself down.
yeah, because otherwise I'm gonna keep going. But I used to smoke all day when I was in college and after classes. And then when I first graduated college and I worked retail, I would smoke on the days I wasn't working, like during the day. But since I've worked for the government, I've worked for the government for 10 years.
Don't they drug test you?
No.
Oh.
And it's weird because I'm a yoga teacher for a gym, but it's a corporation, so that's why they drug test.
I would never think that a yoga teacher job would get tested before a government job.
Well, the government job pulled my record, and I did get a charge. I did get charged in 2007 or 2008 with possession. So when I got hired with the government, they were like, "Oh, do you have any charges you want to tell us about?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have a possession charge." And they're like, "Good. We just wanted to know if you'd be honest or lie because we already knew it." And I was like, "Oh, good. Glad I was honest."
Cool.
And that was it. They didn't test or anything.
Going back to, you getting diagnosed with ADHD as a child, did your parents and you talk about mental health at all? Was it something that was...
No, we never talked about it.
Did you feel like it was off limits?
Yeah, and like my mom just didn't want to admit it. And like now she's 70 and I live there. And for the past year or two, she's been talking about how she's been depressed for over 20 years. But she never talked to me about it when I was younger.
Well, yeah, it's hard to talk to your kid about that, I mean,
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
she could have talked to me in my 20s, but she waited till I was in my 30s.
I mean, I'm trying to put myself in her shoes and like try to imagine talking to your kid about that stuff, especially like if your kid's going through their own shit. Maybe it just took her that long to build up to it,
Yeah.
I mean, better late than never.
Yeah, that's true. And the things she does talk to me about mental illness wise is she always talks about like my sister and my dad being bipolar. And she just like throws that word out there, and neither of them were ever diagnosed that. It's just like her gnosis of them. And I hate that because I'm just like, you can't diagnose somebody who's undiagnosed. Like, it's not fair or right.
But again,
And
that's just her limited understanding of mental health, maybe.
yeah.
Have you tried like educating her?
She's very educated. I just think she's just very close-minded. Like, she just wants to believe that because they've made her feel certain ways that she wants to believe, like, give it a title to make her not feel as badly, I think.
Is your relationship with her like better now that you talk about this
No,
stuff?
our relationship, oh, that's what I was getting into. Our relationship right now is not good, because of the fact that I don't want to work at the government and I just want to teach yoga, and her believing that money is the only thing that matters. She told me happiness doesn't matter. So our relationship's a little rocky because she is worried that I'm going to like lose my job, because I've been having a lot of issues at my job, but I've been building my business on the side for the past like 2 years, 3 years now. And a couple of the gym owners I know and people I have yoga contracts for, because I work for 9 different yoga places right now on top of my other job and then on top of my private yoga teaching. Like when I have my own private clients, I have like 10 of my own clients. All of them tell me that like they were fired or they had issues at their job before they left because they were so busy building their own brand and their own business that like it got in the way of their main income, which is what's happening to me right now. I keep getting talked to by my boss and her boss about like, oh, is your mind really here? Are you really focused on this job? And my mom's freaking out because she's like, they're going to fire you. And I'm like, well, it's the government. They can't really fire me. But yeah, I get what she's saying. But at the same time, I'm like, I know what I'm doing too.
What ethnicity is your family?
We're all over the place.
Okay.
My mom is Black and Native American and Irish. So yeah, she's Black, Native American, and Irish.
Okay.
And then my dad is from Pakistan.
I was just wondering, like, what role culture played in your upbringing.
It's huge. So I went to Pakistan for my first time ever this year, and I understood a lot more about my family from going. It was a culture shock for me, to be honest. So my whole life, weddings have been like this huge thing. Like, how many weddings are we going to a year? Maybe like 10. And like, it was just like so many since I was old enough to walk. I was going to weddings, with my parents, and the Pakistani community is just huge. And like, everybody gets married and everybody gets married young and everybody has kids. And it's just like this big thing. And so when we went to Pakistan, they just kept calling me the unmarried. They're like, you're how old? And you're not married? They're like, did your husband die? And I'm like, no. And they're
Ouch.
like, they're just like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't think anything's wrong with me. So it was just like really a culture shock because my sister's married. So they just kept being like the unmarried one. I'm like, okay. It was just super awkward. And just, it was a little hurtful, but we went there for a wedding. So we were there to watch my little 24-year-old cousin get married to some 29-year-old man, I guess. I don't know. And then like in the culture, money is huge. Like my family comes from like embassy and like State Department type of people. So money and finances and social status is huge and importance in our culture. And that's why I think like the first guy I dated, my parents were upset about because he came from like a background with no money and then he had no money and they were like, this isn't going to work. Like, why are you even like entertaining this guy?
I think that's interesting that like the two big stressors for you right now, money and relationships, are like the two things that your culture like focuses on. Were your parents really like heavy with that growing up, or was it just kind of like hinted at?
I mean, I didn't know much about the needing to have or make a lot of money from them. Like, I didn't know that that was something that they really wanted as a kid. I didn't even really know much about money back then, but I should have. Like, I was spoiled. I went to a private school. My parents bought me anything and everything I wanted. But to me, I was like, that's just normal. And I didn't think much of it until I got older. And I was like, oh, I was privileged.
Do you feel like you've internalized some of their own views about money?
No. I feel like money comes and money goes. Like, I feel like it's always going to go that way. And like, I have like more of a yogic belief. Like, you just need what you need to get by and you don't need like a whole lot. But I just want money to travel because that's all that matters to me. So I'm going out of town next week. As I told you, I was like, can't do next Thursday. I'll be gone.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Hawaii.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
So since 2012, when that first breakup happened, I decided every year I would be traveling on my birthday, and I haven't missed a travel since then.
Do you go by yourself usually or with other people?
For 4 or 5 years, I went with that most recent ex. And then last year, I went by myself, but my friend from Canada flew to Mexico to meet me. And I'm going to Hawaii alone, but I'm staying with a guy friend that I knew in graduate school that I don't even like really talk too much. But I think his girlfriend and him live together with another roommate. And
okay, so it's safe.
It's safe, yeah. But I don't really know.
It's so funny because like looking at you and hearing about all this stuff, you seem like a really confident, brave person, but then you talk about feeling really awkward and anxious. So like, how do you push past that and just kind of do your thing?
I think the awkward and anxious is just like who I am. So I've learned to embrace it and just be that way. I know a lot of my friends are just like, you're so weird. And I'm like, that's just who I am. Like, I don't know. I've just pushed past it. And I think that's why I really enjoy teaching yoga, because my personality is completely there. Like, I don't leave it behind. Like, I have the corniest like dad jokes and I'm a woman and I just
love
like
it.
Giving like these jokes and I'm just like, this is me. But that like it's 100% me. So I don't know.
And I do think it does take sometimes till, you're in your 30s to really figure out that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you've gone through so much just to figure out, you're just beginning to figure out who you are,
Yeah. And it's a lifelong process. And I can relate almost anything back to yoga, but like yoga is a practice and you always practice. You're never a master. Like even though there are some people that are gurus, they are still practicing. They've never mastered the craft, and you will never master the craft. And that's why I love it so much, because that's life. You will never master life. You'll never be perfect at life. Like something will always come in your way. When you think that you have everything together, the universe or God or whomever you believe is going to throw something at you, and you're going to have to deal with that next. So it's just like being prepared to know that shit's going to happen.
Now, you talked about mindfulness before. Can you explain that a little more?
I've found in the past year, I used to meditate with my classes when I'd go to class, or if I'd teach a private class, I'd meditate for like a minute, but I never like really got into like a major meditation practice until this year. And now I meditate and I allow myself to give myself positive affirmations. So that's not what a lot of people do during the meditation, but that's how I help myself fall in love with myself, as we talked about earlier on.
Yes.
Tell myself, like in my head, like, you are where you are supposed to be. You are who you are supposed to be. Like, you are beautiful. You are perfect. You are kind. You are love. Like, I have to repeat these things in my head every single day. Otherwise, I don't feel that way. And like, if I don't meditate or work out in a day, which this could be an addiction, then
All about balance.
then I feel like completely lost. And like, I'm just like, I have to do that. Or, like you said, you are a recovering alcoholic. If I don't do those things, I tend to end up not taking care of myself and either getting really fucked up, doing something I shouldn't be doing, getting blacked out drunk. Like those are things I shouldn't be doing, but it happens if I don't take care of my mental health first.
And yet it is a practice. It is a discipline. What does a meditation session usually look like?
It looks like me just sitting anywhere with my legs crossed, hands on the knees, and sitting up like just a comfortable seated posture. I do it when I'm at work. Sometimes I'll go into what are those? A conference room. One day I was out at a park and it was a beautiful day. I think it was back in like May or June, and I just decided to sit by the creek and meditate there. There were hundreds of people walking past me and out because it was like lunchtime, but it didn't bother me. I just, wherever I can sit and be still, I do it.
What are you actually doing? Are you just repeating those affirmations to yourself, or
That and making sure I'm nowhere near my phone. That's priority number one. Closing my eyes, and just not allowing my mind to think about other things. Because I want to think about things like, why did this guy not text me back? Or what do I have to do when I get back to work? Or how many cases do I need to work on? Or do I have a client at this time? Do I need to run this errand? Like my mind literally goes all day long. So when I sit down and sit in meditation, I don't allow my mind to do that. My mind has to stop. I force myself to. I start by focusing on breathing. I do a few breathing exercises, just like that deep inhalation and exhalation, just letting everything go. My mind just goes blank. And then when my mind wants to start thinking about things, which it happens, it could be 10 seconds, could be 30 seconds, that's when I start with the positive affirmations repeating in my head. Once I repeat those, then I start to remind myself that I am who and what I'm supposed to be. I am where I am supposed to be, and I don't need anybody else. Like I have to remind myself I don't need somebody to make me feel complete. I don't need this child. I don't need this husband. I don't need any of those things. So I just have to remind myself over and over again. And then sidebar, because I always want those things, I look at my friends who do have husbands and kids and I'm like, that can be really annoying.
Well, also there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. And also there's nothing wrong with wanting that, you know? But it's when you make it your whole identity and your whole mission in life and you don't see yourself as fulfilled apart from that. That's when it becomes unhealthy.
Exactly. And then it becomes like this like crazy obsession, which is what it had become for me.
Yeah.
So I'm allowing myself, and actually one of my friends who's the least person to care about mental health, the least person to care about mindfulness, any of that, he and I hang out every Tuesday night, and we were hanging out on Tuesday, and he's like my best guy friend, but we would never date ever because we're not attracted to each other at all. But he said the best thing to me. He was just like, he's like, I mean, just think you'll be alone forever and be happy with that. And I'm like, yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. And I'm like, and that's what I need to do. I just need to be happy alone.
Seriously. And then if someone comes into your life, it's great. If not, it's also great, you know?
Yeah.
You can't be disappointed.
Yeah. And like, I put too much pressure on the ones that I do. Like the one I was just telling you, that's my yoga student. I watch his dog.
Yeah.
I put so much pressure on him. I'm just like, when are we going to do this? When are we going to do that?
Thinking about the last like 10 years of your life and all this shit you've been through and all, like, what do you want to like carry forward into the next 10 years of your life?
I want to carry in the idea of the fact that everything's temporary and everything's going to be okay just because it will. And like, nothing lasts forever. Like, again, everything's temporary, like friendships, people, technology, thoughts, ideas, everything is. And like, that's the one thing. And then to just continue to give love to my yoga students, to strangers, to friends, to family, to everybody I encounter, to just try to be the kindest I can be. Like what I told my students tonight in classes, and this does sound cliche, but everybody is going through something. And as long as we can be the person to shed light or give the next person around us love, that's all we need to do, because we'll receive that back if we continue to give it out. And I do. I receive so much love every single day. It just doesn't happen to be the romantic love, but I get a lot of love and I give a lot of love, and it's a beautiful thing.
Love is love, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think so much emphasis is placed on romantic love, but it's just so overrated, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's not just me being single saying that, you know?
No, it really is. It really is. And I see a lot of my friends who are in romantic love relationships or married or what have you, and they're just like, they don't have that love from like friends, from strangers, because they're just only with their partner, and they are just like, oh, you talk to so many friends and so many people throughout the day. Like, how do you do it? And I'm just like, because I'm not closed off to just one human. There's other humans in this world that we have to interact with. In fact, there's over 7 billion other ones. So why don't you go interact with somebody? But then you also have to think about, we were talking about mental illnesses. A lot of my friends who do feel that way, not the ones in romantic relationships, but I'm thinking about another close friend of mine who does experience a lot of mental health, and it's difficult for her to do that because of her mental health. So I have to also say that too, because some people, it's hard to just talk to other people.
Well, so what's the balance? Like, going back to the concept of balance, like what kind of advice would you give someone that does struggle with that?
I have tasked her to speak to more people. She tends to not judge, because that's not a nice word. That's not what she does. But she has an idea of who people are.
She has preconceived notions.
Yeah. And I have to let her know, again, that everybody's going through something. So you have to understand that maybe your boss talked to you this way, or your coworker did because of something in their life. So I task her with, try to be kind to that person that you're interacting with in the day that is making you feel small or making you feel inadequate, rather than saying that because she just would just not talk to anybody. If they're talking to her nastily, she'll just walk away.
Or maybe if she's like me, she'll say, oh, I'm a terrible person, I can't do anything right. But maybe not. Maybe the other person's just having a bad day and just taking it out on you, you know? Maybe they didn't even mean it that way. It's just,
some people are just nasty, and that's who they are.
If you guys take anything away from this episode, sometimes people just be nasty. Well, it's getting pretty late for you. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Not, but I love this. I love your podcast. I love seeing you. It's been over a year, and
do you want to plug any of your like social media, like your yoga stuff?
Yeah. So if you want to follow me on social media, it's Nadiya Star, which is NADIYASTAR. And if you want to follow me on YouTube, which there's only one video at the moment, that's Yoga by Nadiya, NADIYA. And my website is Nadiya, NADIYA, yoga.com.
I didn't know you had a website.
Yeah.
I will definitely be hitting that up, because I need to get back into yoga. This interview has inspired me.
Well, the YouTube is where I'm actually doing the yoga, even though there's only one video. But I will be doing more. Maybe I'll shoot some in Hawaii.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but it might happen.
Well, keep it in mind, because we'll be waiting.
So right now it's just a meditation, a great meditation for anxiety, actually.
I bet listeners would love to hear that.
Yeah, so it's a great meditation on anxiety. And then my Instagram has most of my yoga flows. I think the next YouTube video I'm going to do is a few poses, and then maybe the following one will be a brief sequence. So
nice. Well, have a good run and try to get some sleep.
Yes, thank you. I'm getting to clean tonight, so I'm going to get that and then sleep.
Nice. I believe in you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.